Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Strawberry Hill Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Simmons. We are here at the Shop Cigar Lounge. Ladies and gentlemen, you got to come down and see us. It's been too long. All this weather has just put a cramp in everything. It's been slow, so come on down and see us. It's starting to kind of clear up. We finally, hopefully, had our last snow this month. Jesus Christ. Anyway, so make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Make sure you follow us on all our social media platforms at Strawberry Hill Podcast. And today I have one of the first people I brought into the shop, Devin Ashley from Badass Cigars. What's up, man?
Two thumbs, that's what's up?
Two thumbs. I remember looking on the internet for I start liking all the cigar stuff when I first opened. Not even, this was before I first opened. And then I saw your stuff. I don't even know how I saw it. And I was just like, this looks great. I think
maybe we talked to it might have been that the holiday barrel posts.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know. There's a lot, but
yeah. And then I was like, man, I got to get some of these. I didn't even know how local you were.
Yeah.
And so
I kind of joke with people that are close to me. I said, yeah, and Mike he said, can you send a rep down? And I was like, because it's just me.
Yeah, it's just
me. I said, I think we can. I was going out of town like the next week. I was like, well, we're busy right now, but I can shoot some cigars. So I mailed them to you. I think you sampled them. Then I came down a few weeks later, and we. You said I'll take two of everything. So
yeah, that was a good time. You were one of the first ones in here.
Joseph Magnus cigar blend.
That
was the first. Yeah, you, Dave, and I had a dram of that, smoked some cigars, and
so now we got your new cigar that we're going to try out.
So this is the triple. Okay, so I'm a matter of fact, I was having a conversation with Brian at Bubbles, and he was talking. We were thinking about doing like a barrel project in preparation for the Chiefs, and couldn't connect to get that one pulled off. But what I ended up doing was I kind of took that idea and I went a little bit further, and I have the triple barrel aged 3-peat Maduro. Okay, so I am banking.
You're banking on the Chiefs,
the Chiefs
getting there. So
go to the Super Bowl.
Please, Chiefs.
So
we need to make the Super Bowl so we can keep the name and sell these cigars.
Yeah,
and sell out.
Well, I've already got the boxes made now. Not only do I have the boxes made with the triple barrel aged 3-peat burnt on there, I've got more than 20 boxes worth, but I got just a few of them branded. So this is box 8 of 20. But I even had a little logo rework done.
Yeah.
And so I took out the head from my logo and put the helmet there.
That is cool.
So anyway, we're hoping to celebrate. And if anybody from the Chiefs is listening, get a hold of me and I'll give you guys however many boxes of these you need to celebrate.
Yes, for the 3-peat.
Your 3-peat win. So,
all right, so let's cut these open.
I guess I should also talk about what's special about it. So I took even back in the day when I owned Liberty Cap Brewing Company, I was like everything that I did, I love barrel character. I love that oak, I love the vanillins, the tan, all the things that come out of that barrel. So when it be beer, whether it be whiskey itself or even barrel aged cigars, that's something I enjoy. So what I did was I took 3 barrels. I took a Redline High Rye barrel. I took that was actually we met James up here. I'm sorry, Taylor. We met Taylor up here. He brought the barrel from Kentucky or Tennessee. Not sure where they're at, but he brought it up here, and we took that up north to my cigar factory in St. Joe, and then we took a Blue Note barrel, which is a store pick from Hy-Vee. And then we took one of my distillery's barrels. So I got my hands in Parkway Distillery up in St. Joe.
You got your hands in everything.
Yeah, well, that's a long story. I'm probably way over. I'm spreading myself thin, but this is kind of it's just been a fun thing, So took all 3 barrels, right, and I got the cigars that I aged in each one. And then I would rotate after a time frame to the next barrel. And then I would rotate again. So all of these cigars went through all 3 barrels. And did you get the cold draw? Did you try that yet?
Oh, yeah.
The cold draw is always like the most amazing part of these. You get all that barrel character. And usually you'll get it to like the last quarter of the cigar.
It is a tasty cigar already.
Yeah, definitely there.
Yeah.
Get those like stone fruits and the bourbon character, the oak character is definitely there.
Yeah. So
I love it.
How did you start your journey with cigars?
So, I think how I operate in most things in life, if I enjoy something, I kind of like, I jump in head first and then I figure out the details afterwards. So, cigars, we got a group of guys that we've been meeting once a month for 15 years for a cigar.
What's your club called?
Clubo Puro is what it was initially called, right? A buddy of mine, so I was a high school Spanish teacher, right? And
this is crazy.
And
so are you fluent?
Yeah. I always get these. When I worked after working in the ER for the 13 years that I did before I went to the mental health unit, which is where I work now as a nurse. I frequently one doctor and we would always inherit or adopt or be given the Spanish speaking patients. Oh, Devin's here, which was actually there's funny stories about that too. Some of the nurses at triage would be like a brown person would walk in. They'd be like, Devin to triage. And I walk up front and I'd be like, Kathy, those are Micronesian. They're not Spanish speaking. But anyway, there would be, we would inherit these patients and I'd get to use it with some frequency, but on the mental health unit, it's not as much as I did. So, but yes, I'm fluent. I have my Spanish degree, teaching degree, nursing degree as well. And, but
you're seriously like the jack of all trades,
master of
master of none or something.
Master of coding you if you're dying in the ER. That's the ER statement. A jack of all trades, a master of only coding your butt if you're dying in the ER.
Well, you're like the most interesting man in the world. There, you're just like you got a little bit of everything under your belt. So sorry, yes. So cigars.
Man, I love the cigar. So there was this group that we have. We met once a month for 15 years, and when
you're still meeting?
Yeah, still meeting. We actually this month. So we just had Snowpocalypse 2025. Saturday and Sunday, it was snowing so bad we had it planned for Monday. So we meet at my house, and we've got 5 acres. And
you guys still did it on Monday?
We were supposed to. This is the first time I've canceled ever. But it was early enough in the month that I was able to replan it. So it's going to be here in a week and a half. But so Chris was the guy that going back to the. Okay, so as a Spanish teacher, I had this group of kids. It was the alternative kids that would come and we started a hacky sack club for them at the end of the day on Friday. They'd come and play hacky sack, and so we'd just play hacky sack. During the summer, they would come over and we had Halo tournaments. If you remember that?
Oh, yeah. The Halo fanatic,
dude. So. We should do one here sometime, man.
Oh man, I don't know if I want to geek out again. Like that was a chapter of my life I shut. I closed the door.
I hear you,
I played Halo 1 for like almost every day of my life.
Oh yeah, man.
For like 2 years.
Yeah. There was that was the original like gaming. Well, I say original. I mean, there was probably others before it, but it was really
I would get out of like practice, whatever practice I had for school, go to my buddy's house, Kyle. Shout out to Kyle, and we had 2 TVs set up in his basement and 2 Xboxes. So we would have like 8 of us playing Halo, 4 on each team, and we would play from like 4:30 to like 7:30 every day. And then it's like we would get outside and like play basketball or something every once in a while. But it's like there for a while, I was like practice Halo, practice Halo. That's all.
And it just kind of you think about like how simple life was when you had like almost no responsibilities and you could do that every day.
No bills or nothing. I had to worry about that.
I hear you. But so these kids would. So I had my hair was that far from my waist when I was growing up. Right, that's my logo. Is me. I had dreadlocks for a number of years, and so it's my logo. If anybody's wondering, like it looks like Medusa is what I get a lot. But it's I used to write a lot, and it would be me with I would have these writings, and I'd have a drawing that went with it, and it was always like me with the dreadlocks in different forms and whatnot. But anyway, so I was that alternative kid myself growing up, and so I connected with them really well. They didn't have anything to keep them in school. They didn't have like social clubs. They didn't have academics. They didn't have sports. They didn't have like theater. They just had them and their own interests, which weren't really welcome at school, if you will. And I tell you, man, it took forever. When I tried to get this club approved, like the athletics director or the one that was in charge of all the clubs, like knocked it down like 2 or 3 times. I said, what do I need to do? He's like, what's the academic connection for this club? And I said, it's a PE club. So he's like, okay. So we had to like stretch before every meeting.
That's funny.
But anyway, these kids that came over played Halo, and one of them saw my humidor on the shelf, and I was a casual cigar smoker at that time. And he said, when I turned 18, I want to have a cigar. And I was like, what? Yeah, right. I'm not going to smoke a cigar with one of my old students, you know? Mm-hmm. And so I kept in touch with him when he wasn't my student. And then when he turned 18, he came by and he's like, hey, I want to have a cigar. I was like, all right, man, let's have a cigar. So we went down to Outlaws where we had our first cigar. Mm-hmm. And then the next month it was like I was moving some brush, and he helped me move the brush, had a cigar again. And then we just continued to have, like, let's do this once a month, first Wednesday of the month. And that was 15 years ago. Now, when Chris, for whatever reason, couldn't make it, he would say, oh, that's not that you didn't have Clubo Puro, you just had a casual beer and cigar night, right? So now, at the 10-year mark, meaning every month, like there was a few times, this sounds weird, but where it was like the end of a March, or the end of the month of March, and it was like, hey, man, we haven't had a cigar yet. We got to meet sometime. And if the two of us were there, we called it a cigar club. So there was like once, maybe twice, where like he got off work and I got off work, and I drove south and he drove like north at the last day of the month. And then we just like in Platte City, we had a cigar like sitting on the bed of my truck in a parking lot. So we kept it going for this whole time. It's actually older than my oldest daughter.
That's funny.
Yeah, she's 15 in October. And the cigar club was 15 in August. So we're 15 and a half years. So long way to say, that was kind of my entry into cigars. We got a group of guys. We've had, usually there's about 15 to 20 guys there. We've had 80 before.
Jeez.
We had a whole hog roast one time. Uh-huh. And so that yeah, man, it's just good. We have like kind of these themes each month, like January's Domino's night. Mm-hmm. December's poker night, November's chili contest that we do annually, September's steak night. You know, there's just there's a different thing.
That's cool.
Barbecue contest in April, March or April. I think it's April. And then we've got a bitters old fashioned night in February. So I mean, each month there's something different. You know?
How does like someone get a part of the club?
Yeah, you can shoot me a message on Facebook, and we literally meet at. I've got 5 acres. We've got my Morton building, which is my cigar factory. We meet in there, hang out, smoke cigars. I've always got a pork butt that I smoke. It's kind of BYOB. I used to have a lot of beer when I was involved with the brewery. When I owned Liberty Cap, I still brew every once in a while, but it's not quite as much as I used to. I find. Brewing these days is kind of maybe seen more as a chore instead of like a passion that I had.
That's fun.
Yeah.
So you do it once a month?
Yeah. Yeah. You need to come up sometime, man. I know we've been talking about it, but I also know that like just life and one more thing that takes you away from your family.
Yeah. Okay. What day is it on?
Well, it depends. The 20th, I think, of January 20th. I think
it's on Mondays.
This one will be on a Monday.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you do all that. So now you're into cigars.
Yeah,
so now, what's the transition on? I'm smoking cigars regularly now. Now, why do I want to open up my own company?
The jump in, I think when I owned Liberty Cap, I learned all about like TTB licensure and like the things.
Liberty Cap.
What's
that?
So Liberty Cap is it's two things. It's a hallucinogenic mushroom. But what our approach was, the Liberty Cap was I think maybe it goes back to the Crimeans, maybe that had when they were like a conquered people, when they did their time of servitude and they were released, they got a hat signifying that they were free. And it was their Liberty Cap. I think if the Smurfs hat, I think is a Liberty Cap, I think.
Really?
But I think it's actually supposed to be red and their hat's maybe blue. Their shorts are red. Yeah, I don't know. But it's kind of a historically significant thing. The silver dollar for the U.S., there's Lady Liberty wearing a Liberty Cap. Yeah, so it's really deep into our history as far as like imagery, but maybe not everyone knows exactly what a Liberty Cap is. So, but so being involved with that, I learned a lot about the TTB licensure, paying the taxes, give the God what is God's, give to Caesar what is Caesar's. Right, is kind of my approach. And so
it's a good way to put it.
Yeah. And so we ended up going into this time where, really it happened that I was rolling for a while, started the brewery, had no time to roll. I mean, if I could take a second there, just talk about like
Go ahead,
that was one of the formative times of like a concept that I really guide a lot of my life by. I don't know about a concept, but more like a notion of a phrase, a slogan, if you will. But I always said, like, I got to thinking, like, I was there all the time. And if I wasn't there physically, I was there mentally at the brewery. There was a night where we had to brew the next day, and I forgot that I hadn't turned the boiler on. So I got out of bed, went downtown, turned the boiler on, filled up the brewing tanks, and it was just a lot of stuff like that just really took you away from being present at home, and I didn't like that. It came down to one time we just had some stressful brewing days, and I was like, why am I doing this? Like, this isn't, because I was actually on my way to med school at that time. I had taken the MCAT. I got what I needed to go to MU's program, which is where I wanted to go. But I never submitted my application because I saw how much time I studied, and again, how much time it took me away from my family. And I just couldn't justify it, man. Like, what I would be trading for my family was my relationship with them. So I would go to med school. We'd be financially like secure, if you will. My wife would be able to stay home with the kids, but I would never see him. I would be, unless I did shift work, like, certain physicians have that ability to do shift work.
Yeah.
ER, which is what I wanted to do. ER was the first thing that kept my attention more than 2 years. I taught for 4, lost my attention after 2 years, got into nursing, and I was like, man, this is awesome. Like, more than 2 years, I was able to say, I still love this, and I want to be a physician. So that's where that went. But so, you get to that point where it's like, that slogan, if you will, or what I would say or still say, is what you spend your time on, it defines you and it affects other people.
Yeah.
So at the time, I could be known as a good brewer or make good beer in town, or I could be for like a time frame, right? Or I could be known by my kids as being a good father, and as my wife as being a good husband, and have that legacy. And that's kind of where I hang my hat a lot now. It seems like every few years I have to kind of like readjust or refocus or revisit that concept and kind of like say, what do I need to trim out of my life, And fortunately, my wife is very supportive of my wild hairs too. So,
and your gray hairs.
And my gray hairs, yes. So we were talking today. I found my first gray beard hair. It was right there.
I call them wisdom highlights.
Nice.
Yes.
And that's what it is, man. I mean,
plenty.
Yeah. And I'm 41, and I that was the first one that I found.
Yeah, you're lucky.
Years ago, I thought I had one on my chin, and I plucked it out. But like, and honestly, I thought about like leaving that one today to show off.
Sure.
But I actually pulled it out.
It's got good kids because
yeah, dude, my kids are awesome.
Yeah,
man.
my kids are great too, but they're stressful.
Yeah,
so I think that's why I got more gray hair.
Well, I have 3 girls, and we're going into the teenage years, so I think I'll probably develop some more gray hair here in the next time frame. But so yeah, you spend your time, what you spend your time on it defines who you are and affects other people. So that's when I stepped out of brewing. I said, this isn't good for my family. This isn't good for like what my life is moving forward. I was still a nurse at the time too, so I had no time for anything, right? I had been rolling cigars prior to that just because I thought it'd be fun. And so I continued to roll cigars when I left the brewery. COVID happened.
Did you just teach yourself how to roll?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, I watched some YouTube videos.
That's teaching yourself.
Yeah. I didn't have any formal training. As a matter of fact, it's kind of funny because when I do if I do like a rolling event with like somebody who really knows what they're doing, I do this. I call it like a modified. What I'm drawing a blank. So there's a number of different ways you could just like stack all your tobacco and book it. That's not a good idea because you get canoeing with that. If you don't put the lejero in the right spot, you get it burns kind of wonky where it won't burn where the lejero is touching the outside. It's almost like an accordion is what I do. And so you'll see a lot of the rollers will actually roll each leaf just roll it up like a scroll.
Yeah.
And then they'll stack them all together, and then they'll kind of pull it off the end and put it where it needs to go. But I would do this like I'd take 2 leaves or 1 leaf, and I'd separate and pull the stem out, and then I'll like kind of accordion it, and then I'll stack them, put the lejero right there in the middle, and then I'll stack more on top of it, and then I'll remove the excess from the ends, and I'll kind of fit it in wherever it needs to go to kind of make that complete and uniform cigar, right? The bunching method. So, and then then you bunch it, you put that binder on, you put it in a press, and then you wait your time frame, whether it be 2 hours or 2 days, and then you pull it out, and you have your leaves or your wrapper prepped, trimming off the ends, and then rolling up, and you got your.
I'm trying to learn,
dude.
We were at an event, and you were teaching me a little bit,
and I will still. We need to reinitiate that, and I'll come down. I'll bring tobacco, and we'll just we'll teach you how to go, man.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, I had taught Perdomo Phil.
Yeah.
I taught him how to roll. I don't know if he's still rolling or not, but it's just kind of, if you don't have like the tools, like the presses and the tobacco and the access to it. And it really is like, one cool thing that I found with rolling cigars was, it's kind of like learning to cook all over again. Right. Mm-hmm. That was really like one of the big exciting things is like, as I was telling you earlier, it's like, if you had, the first time you're cooking a chicken breast by yourself, maybe early 20s, maybe before that, your parents are out of town, and you're like, okay, well, I got to eat, so what am I going to cook? And you're like, well, heck, I don't know what am I supposed to put on this? Barbecue sauce? Well, maybe some seasoning too. So you put salt, you put pepper. Well, how much pepper is appropriate? And then you get to the point where like, well, I like that, but I know what garlic tastes. I'll put some garlic on there. And then you get to you look through the spice cabinet, and you're like, man, what the hell is paprika? So you go through and you try and find all these like different spices, and you get to try them. And one you try and you're like, oh my gosh, that definitely isn't what I thought it was. Mm-hmm. It's the same with tobacco, man. It's like you get all these different ingredients, and you learn what each one will like bring to the table. But it takes time. And so it was kind of an exciting thing for me to be able to relearn cooking, which is a big passion of mine. That's my wife and I, we love to cook. And honestly, I was joking to say she's my sous chef, but like I'm totally the back seat chef now, man. Don't tell her if you ever see her that, but I admit that I am the sous chef. But that was kind of one of our big connections, my wife and I. But so cooking, blending tobaccos, it's kind of has like a similar feel. So licensing the company though, so I rolled for years on and off. After I left the brewery, I was still a nurse. I am still rolling, starting to roll more, and then COVID happens. So, nurse in the ER at that time.
Oh, that was just crazy,
dude. I have got. I mean, I can tell you some messed up stories. I can tell you some funny stories, like without giving it. It was always funny when these like guys would come in their wife beaters, mean mugging all the staff. They kind of will walk and you watch the guy walking, you're like, what's he here for? And you look up at the tracking board and it says, oh, foreign body and rectum. Okay, that makes sense. And so you get that. You get one time I had this woman come in who had a hysterectomy like a week before. She got pain medication. She got constipated from the pain medication. She strained of a bowel movement, dehyst her stitches, and her entire small bowel prolapsed out of her vaginal canal. That was probably one of the crazier things I've seen. All the bones, all the things, failed suicide attempts. Those were, as an officer of law enforcement. Mm-hmm. But I think probably the worst thing we encountered was, we had there was a car wreck that was, one car hit the other. It flipped up and over that car. It went down into a drainage ditch that had 6 feet of standing water. Uh-huh. So we coded a mother and all 3 of her kids at the same time.
That's horrible.
Yeah, that one was, and if you ever know an ER nurse or like a nurse in general, we sometimes have really like messed up 6 senses of humor. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to say it's like a coping mechanism, but like
it is. It's the same thing with cops, firefighters.
Okay, yeah, it is, yeah. Yeah, and
it's just like, how do I cope with this?
Yeah,
humor.
Yeah, and we're good at compartmentalizing, and I feel like I was really good at that. Matter of fact, And I don't know, man, maybe since I've left the ER, I've can maybe approach it a little bit differently, but like that was the only thing, seeing that the mom and the 3 kids was one of the more stressful things that I dealt.
So
we actually,
I want to, no, sorry to cut you off. I want to stay on this topic for a second because it was a question I was going to ask you and I don't want to forget. Like, remember what we were talking about the cigar stuff. We'll get to that. But like as an ER nurse, like, cause I was in first responder, side of things, like, and I know how we dealt with trauma and all that stuff. It was a lot of time wasn't good. It's just alcohol or hanging out with your buddies, telling more stories.
Yep.
But what did you guys do as like nurses and doctors when you were dealing with, like, I guess you're dealing with just the same shit. The worst of the worst.
So we started having debriefs. That was kind of a thing that was becoming part of the process and protocols through like ACLS, American Heart Association. They would say, like, have a debrief, where you talk about it, what went well, and I've always, not always, I've really through taking on orienting a new nurse or whatever, I've taken on that reflection time. So and I incorporate that into all of my life now, but especially when I'm training a new nurse, right? So that was one of the first times that we had a big debrief situation where we had Children's Mercy came up. Because
now they only debriefing on like major incidents.
Really, yeah, on the big ones. I mean, if you have a code, you can do a quick debrief, like what went well, like what could maybe we do different. Were there too many people in the room, and that really can be a thing, man. When the excitement's happening, everyone flocks to it.
Yeah, everyone wants to see it or help, and
then it maybe gets in a way. I called when I was charge nurse, and I called 2 mass casualties when I worked. One time it was like these 2 kids, groups of kids were shooting each other up. And I had 10 level 1 activations in 45 minutes, and it was the kids getting shot. It was car wrecks. It was motorcycle wreck, and then we just had 6 people. And you call that mass casualty when the resources you have or the patients you have outmeasure or outpace the resources that you have.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. Matter of fact, that process, like the VP showed up. 2 thoughts. One of the VPs showed up, and within 10 minutes, we had nurses coming from the floors without getting a report and just taking their patients and getting them out of the ER. So we had beds open up, which was amazing. I was blown away. And some of the nurses even brought the beds back down, which is even more amazing. But then the other feel was there was people, like a lot of the suits that came in that were just in the way. Yep. And that can happen too. So you have your debrief, was there too many people there? Were people in the way? And you just discuss all the things that you could have done. And maybe if it was a negative outcome, which happens despite your best efforts, all 3 of those kids ended up expiring. We called 2 of them at Mosaic, which is where I work, and then Children's Mercy came up, and they brought 3 ambulances up, and we were still working with the last kid. And I kept it together until I walked in a room and saw one of my nurses rocking a dead baby. And then I just lost it, and I was bawling. But, so a few weeks later, Children's came up, and we had a very good debriefing. They said, a lot of residents and doctors that are in training, they will never have a code in their residency, and you had 3 pediatric codes in one night. And so they complimented us on how we handled it. And it was really more for just, I guess, kind of closure into, and one of the things actually that was kind of closure for me, one of my lounges, they have video cameras at a different shop. They had like a market, and they had video cameras there. And come to find out that the car had been submerged for quite a while. Yeah. So despite our best efforts, there was anoxia. I mean, it was a long time underwater. So, but worst case scenario, man, pediatric trauma code drowning. I mean, it was just 3 of them times 3.
So how did you deal with it? Once you had to go through all the stress and trauma.
I think
what did you do? How did you cope with it?
So for that one, talking about it honestly, I feel like that's a big piece. And then having experts come in and kind of fill us in on, this was a really unique situation. you're not going to have that. People don't have this frequent, let alone one of these at a time, So, talking was the big answer that really kind of helped me and helped me with my staff too. I feel like, communication is so huge, and, keeping up inside is not healthy for anybody on anything, and talking about it helps. Since I left the ER, I used to say like I'm so good at compartmentalizing. These things don't really affect me. I don't have PTSD because I can think about these situations without like a lot of stress coming back and flooding into me.
Yeah.
Half the time it wasn't the taking care of the patients. It was like other departments outside of our ER that we were waiting on them to come and like address this issue, whether it be like an MI and this guy's got his STEMI, we're waiting for the cath lab to come. And that was kind of stressful to wait on other departments to come in and like fix what we had identified. And then there's another piece of life too that's on the outside. And I didn't realize this until I left the ER, I was drinking a lot more, a very unhealthy level.
Yeah. It's normal. It's a normal coping mechanism.
Yes. And it's not good, but it's normal.
Yeah. We would call that choir practice in the law enforcement world.
One of my docs, we had a particularly stressful shift, and I made a joke about, we should go have some beers in the morning, and he jokingly said, drinking is not a healthy coping mechanism, and I said, he's actually right. What's a better option? And but I didn't really hold on to that until after I left the ER. But I remember one time, man, I came home, and you're 10 out of 10 all the time when you come off these shifts, right? 10 out of 10. I came home, and I was working nights at the time, and actually this particular event was I was back on days, but I remember coming home, and I poured a little glass of whiskey and came home. My wife was on the pool or out in on the patio, the back patio. And so I went and sat next to her and chatted for a few minutes, and like, she's like, all right, well, I got to go. She went to address the pool and put chemicals in and whatnot. And she came back, and I was like, pretty sure I was sitting in the exact same position and had not taken a sip of my drink. And I think I was drooling, maybe not really, but it's just like the idea of your brain is just shot after that. And
it goes this kind of like hibernation, like when you get home, like you just don't want to talk to anybody.
Yes.
You just sit and just like zone out.
Yes, that's exactly it, man.
It's not good for anyone.
I think that's one of the biggest things of why I left the ER. I remember it was kind of the same thing. Why did I leave the brewery? It wasn't good for my family. Why did I leave the ER after 13 years, man? Like, I could say that really for a good portion of that it was not the same. Like when I worked nights, I'd come home and the kids would be going off to school. I'd give them a hug and kiss. They'd go off. Kid would go off to work. I'd lay down and go to bed. Mm-hmm. Wake up when the kids got home from school. That was a little different, but when it is affecting your life on the day form, it was a little bit different. But
yeah, that's one of the reasons why I left the sheriff's office.
Yeah.
Is because like I had to medically retire because of just the stress and trauma it was putting on me. And it's like I couldn't sleep, I couldn't work. Dude, I was a vegetable when I got home. Because
and that's not
your stress level and your alert level is so high when you're at work, especially when you're dealing with trauma and you got past trauma and like this doesn't go away. And then like when you get home, it's not like you can just switch it off.
Yeah.
And like you try to switch it off, but that's when your brain just like, all right, if you want to switch it off, we're just gonna shut off.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you're just like,
and could your wife tell immediately when you left?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
My wife as well.
It was like night and day. It was just like, cause it's like it feels like 100 pounds lifted off of you.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying everyone goes through that, but it's like,
right.
Most people go through that if you don't handle it correctly.
Exactly.
And that's what I didn't do. Like I didn't go see a therapist as soon as like I dealt with it for a long time, and then I saw a therapist, but it was kind of too late. But like, I'm glad I saw a therapist because it kind of got me to where the point where I was like, hey, I can't be in this profession anymore because I'm just going downhill. Like it's not getting better.
Yeah.
And it's like, now it's just time for me to do right by me and get out. Cause it's like, it's either I'm going to drink myself to death, like kill myself or
and lose your family.
Lose my family. Like, there's so many options that weren't good.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can't do this.
And the healthy. And I'm so glad you did it, man. This place is awesome. I love it. I mean, it's, but the other option is the other options are not good.
No,
so.
I don't think there is a good option. Like once you reach that point,
and I
like
think
the best option is get help and better yourself or get out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I always tell people it's like, because they always ask me for advice when they're dealing with stuff. And like my first option's never to like quit or leave. Like I don't want you to ever think that like
that's the first option.
Like that's the first option. It's like first get help.
Yeah.
Then if like that's not working, all right, what's your next option? If that's not working, maybe you just need to leave and get a new scenery. Like,
Yeah.
So
I found that being up on the mental health unit now, half the time, like not half the time, there's a large percentage of the time when people can come to their own conclusions. They just need to talk about it. They just need somebody to talk through it. I mean, so many people, like at the end of the conversation, I say, like you have a lot of insight into what's going on and what your resolution is. And they're all like, oh, yeah, I guess I do, and I always use this phrase. So did you watch the G.I. Joe cartoon when you were a kid?
Yes.
Okay. And at the end, there's always some like moral of the story.
The more you know.
Yes. Okay. So the kid would be like, yeah, now I know I'm not supposed to do drugs, or now I know I'm supposed to look both ways before I cross the street. And G.I. Joe would say, and knowing, or now you know, and knowing is half the battle. Yeah. Yes. And so I always tell my patients that, and I referenced G.I. Joe. I said, as G.I. Joe taught us when we were kids, knowing is half the battle. And if you can point that out and allow somebody to be aware that they know, then that helps them out a lot. But I think there's so many people that carry these traumatic experiences or whatever the case is, childhood trauma, current trauma, just seasonal depression. I mean, it doesn't have to be a traumatic thing. It could be like a chemical imbalance in your inside that you carry with you for so long, and you don't address it, and it affects your life. I mean, so the moral of all this is definitely get help. If there's something you're struggling with, if you're carrying something that is just a consuming thought, a consuming thing you did, or that was happened to you, like talk to somebody about it, get help, because there's freedom from that stuff, And I'm happy that people are able to truly get there, but you really have to open up and be open about it all.
Yeah, I agree. I'm a big proponent of that. Like that, I tell people like we even have like we call them JFU meetings here, and they're like for first responders. We do it every second Monday. Now we moved it, so we do it every second Monday because I'm closed. So we allow first responders to come in, and it's kind of just like you sit and you talk about your problems. Yeah. And the reason why it's called JFU is because I help with this program called WCPR and FRST. So it's like pretty much like. It's like WCPR, the West Coast Post-Trauma Retreat. And really what it is, it's like if someone's going through like PTSD or a lot of like trauma, they get that person, they take them to like a week-long retreat where they just get help. And they get help from peers and therapists. And I went through the program. It was fantastic, and I help with it every year. And so, but one of the people that went through that program, like, they were having PTSD problems after they got out of that program, and they wanted to talk to people, with like-minded stuff, and all they could find was AA meetings. So you go to AA meeting, you stand up, you're like, hey, my name is Mike, I'm an alcoholic, right? Got to him, he's like, hi, my name is Devin, and like, I'm not an alcoholic, I'm just fucked up. So JFU, just fucked up. Like, so that's what we call them that. Yeah. So we have those here every second Monday. So if you're first responder, please come out and see us. But yeah, so like that's like near and dear to my heart, and we're actually doing a fundraiser on March 8th, and I don't know if I'm supposed to say it yet, but I'm just saying it. But
let me know, man.
Yeah, we're doing it here, and we're doing it for FRST, so First Responder Support Team.
I'd love to help.
Yeah, 100%.
That's I think. I don't know. I mean, it would be a change of subject with like the coffee and the cigars, and a portion of the sales that I make each year I send to. Yeah. Like we've got two kids in. I pulled their magnets off the door. I've been telling people about the fridge. I've been telling people about Gift and Minskiki. Yep. I've been telling them about Gift and Minskiki. We've been taking care of these two kids for quite a while. They're in Uganda, and
so the proceeds from the sales of your cigars,
that's the Compton that pays for them.
Yeah,
In matter of fact, we don't make enough to pay for both of them with the sales of the Compton. I take a portion of each box or bundle sale, and it goes to these kids. So it was like $45 a month. It was like $1,100 for those two last year. I didn't make enough for it, so we just eat the cost as a family because it's something we're passionate about. And then we had a kid, Diana, in Nicaragua that we were sending to school. Well, she's missing. Had I told you that? I don't know if I told you that or not, but she was missing. She was missing. We don't know where she is. So that happened maybe sometime in the summer or fall. We think that her parents got a divorce. So anyway, she's not in the school anymore. They let us know, but so we're not supporting that one. But I was able to kind of refund some money that was going to her to gift in Minskiki. But I'm looking for another kid to support to go to school. These are just things we're passionate about. There's a girls orphanage in Dominican Republic that we send money to. That's the GQ. The GQ Maduro. I just this year decided there's an organization called Sisters of Solace in St. Joe where they help women who are addicted to drugs or homeless or have been sex trafficked. They get them off the street. They give them a place to stay. They just love on them. They give them counseling, take care of their medical needs, and teach them like trade. So I wrote a check to them. And then the Abano is, so my wife's dad was a state trooper who was shot and killed while he was on duty 25 years ago, I think it is. It'll be 26 years ago this coming year. And so the Abano, the blue label Abano, we write a check to the Masters, Missouri Association of State Troopers Emergency Relief Fund, I think. And so that was kind of a very my wife and sister-in-law, mother-in-law, I don't want to say the word benefited from, but they relied on that. So it impacted us personally. So we give money back to that. It's probably one of the things I'm most passionate about. But James 1:27 says, pure and unadulterated religion is to take care of widows and orphans in their distress. And so this obviously isn't a religious thing, but I feel like that's a call that we have, or I have personally. So almost everything I do, like the Global Citizen Coffee, this is something that my buddy Steve and we just started. But on the back, it has James 1:27. And so we take what we're going to consider is or 10% of the sales of Global Citizen Coffee will go to widows and orphans in some facet. Now, we think this year, for last year, I guess the 2024, I asked one of my police officer friends in St. Joe, like how to do this, and I didn't get a response yet, but the Fraternal Order of Police, I think FOP. I think that's who we will write a check to. Is that, I'll talk to him about it. And
you can write a check to them, or you could do, there's a lot of other stuff like answering the call. I know Ronnie does a really good job running that, or FRST, the program. I mean, there's a lot of programs that you can help that really help with first responders and like when something happens, like helping their families out and funeral costs and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's a lot, man. And so that was last year. I think this year we've got an orphanage in Haiti that we're thinking about. You know, it's tricky too, man, because like actually I used to have this. Okay, I'll tell one story about like kind of like I realized that like in funneling money into like maybe third world countries or into that community or that environment might disrupt things. And a story. My wife went to Uganda with the rescue readers, and one of the women they had like a big party for them. It was like dance and it was music, and one of the people on the trip told this woman, "Hey, that's a beautiful dress," and the woman was like, "Oh, I'll make one for you." And she's like, "Oh, no." Well, the next day she had this beautiful elaborate dress, like a traditional Ugandan dress for this person, and she's like, "Well, oh my gosh, all I have is this $50 bill, right?" That completely wrecks do I say wrecked? I guess I should be careful with my words, but it changes the landscape of the economy there, because you've got this. That's like $10,000. It's massive amounts of money, and I don't even think somebody could break a 50, I guess. But so I'm careful about what I do. And I used to have this idea, like I would give money more to people that were already established in the area. And then I actually had a conversation with Daniel Lance that really opened my eyes. Daniel Lance at Domain Cigars. Dude, you see he won the...
you got number 6
that
Cigar
was
Coupe.
awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's so exciting for him. But anyway, shout out to Daniel, I guess, in Domain Cigars for that awesome honor. But we were having a conversation here, and he like lives in Nicaragua majority of the time, and the first time I met Daniel, I was at Fidel's, and I was talking with Ben, and Ben's tattoo artist, and Daniel came in, and I was kind of explaining like how we try and give money back to like these areas where the tobacco came from, and he's like he kind of told me like oh, that's not how it is, and I'm like, what are you talking about, man? I've been to Nicaragua. I've seen kids digging through the dump, and then we ended up. I didn't know who he was at the time, and I was like trying to tell him how it was, but he like lives there.
He's like, yeah, I live there.
And so I didn't catch those on my way out. That was the day that my CSF leak started, and I was like, that's a whole. We might have to do a part 2.
Yeah, it's all right.
But so anyway, they probably thought I was like tweaking, but I was like shaking, and I was pale, and I was diaphoretic, and I didn't know what was going on. But I left and then went home. Well, I met him here sometime later, and we were talking. We got more into it, and he talked about how like there's choices, and there's that's like it's not maybe what I perceived, and so. Whereas before I was all about giving money back to there with the tobacco. I've been to 46 countries outside the U.S. I've seen like poverty but I've never lived. I guess I lived in Mexico when I studied, but I've never lived in an area and got deep into the community.
Yeah,
and didn't maybe understand like the civic operations, right? And Daniel does, and we talked quite extensively about it, and it kind of changed my approach. I guess I don't have a final answer. I just know that it's maybe not quite as what I thought it was, but we still are giving money. It's like a significant portion. Writing those checks this year hurt, man, because I've doubled my company growth for the past. This is starting year 5. I doubled my growth each year.
It's awesome.
I didn't think I was gonna,
man.
Dude. I didn't think I was gonna. Last year, I made more money than I did as a teacher when I started 15 years ago. I was like, "There's no way I can double that." This year, I made more money than I do as a nurse by like $20,000. Not to get into
maybe I can do this full time.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna send. I'm gonna let my wife. We're gonna send her. We joke about it, about she quitting her job and becoming the CEO. She's much more business minded than me. I'm like all over the place, as you can tell just by our conversations. They circle, right?
Yeah, Katie, we circle back to it. So
yeah. Katie's very linear. And God knew what he was doing when he put her in my life. But, and she is a very, there was in her role that she was in at the hospital, the last CEO would say, she was involved in these meetings, and he would say, what does Katie Ashley have to say about this? And so she's got a skill set that is very special and unique. But anyway, so we say we'll let her quit first, and she'll be the CEO.
There you go.
She joked, and she's like, Devin, you can be the CSO, the Chief Social Officer, which obviously doesn't exist. But anyway, so at some point, yeah, that's our plan.
So you get into cigars, and it sounds like it's going well. Where did the name Badass come from?
So my students would call me Bad Ash. And it was just the joke. And honestly, man, if I had
Ashley, I get
it. Last name's Ashley.
Right.
Right. Triple entendre, right? The ash of a cigar, Ashley, and then badass, right? So, and honestly, man, if I could do it over, I would change the name to something else.
It's too late now.
It's too late now. Yeah. It's too late now. It's and I joke and say it's not a household name, but I mean it's kind of like it. There's like there's a very specific like niche group of people that are on board with what I'm doing, you know. This year I took the Renaissance Festival took on my cigars. They're only selling mine, and we're in the process of blending a proprietary blend for the Renaissance Fair KC. So that should be available this year if we can get the all the details lined up.
Good.
But the name, yeah. So it just came from that. And I was sitting at triage when COVID happened, right? And there was like this time frame where from 1 a.m. to like 4 a.m. there would be nobody in the hospital because they were all afraid. Like that's where COVID is. I'm not going to the hospital. And that actually, I could tell you some stories about some problems that would cause too, where people would come to the hospital and then not get out of the car.
Yeah.
Because one guy went home and died. He wouldn't get out of his car, and we went and talked to him. He was having an MI, and he wouldn't get out of his car, so he drove home and found out later that he died at night. What
is an MI?
Myocardial infarction, a heart attack. He was having a heart attack, but
wouldn't get out of the car because he was scared.
Actually, I had two people. One, same thing happened. That guy didn't get out of his car, and he went home and died. And then the second guy, I was able to, he got into the triage room. They were doing vitals on him, but he didn't want anybody to get near him. And he was like, get back, or 6 feet away. And so one of my nurses came, he's like, Devin, this guy's like, he's left. He's outside sitting in the front. And so we went out and talked to him, and we got a picture of Bryce and I after this. They kind of made a big deal out of it when, like, we literally saved this dude's life because he was having a heart attack as well. And we talked him into it, and I got up close and a mask on, and I sat down 6 feet away. I was like, this is what could be happening. And I explained like what he could expect. And finally I said, man, we'll take you right to your room. We'll do an EKG, and we'll get you checked out. We can bypass all of this. And there's if you ever go to the ER and you're in triage and you're waiting, you're like, you see other people going back ahead of you. There's two things that are happening. One, that person might be literally like have a life-threatening issue that they're being addressed right now. Or they're going in another door that maybe you're like, they're walking, but there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with them. Well, maybe they have a cut and they're going to have a nurse practitioner stitch up their finger. Well, if you're there with like, potential sepsis or something. I should also preface, like, I have a nurse practitioner as my primary, and I love her. She's amazing. Don't ever think that an NP isn't going to be able to address your needs. There's some that are more complex, but an NP, like, your NPs can be great too. But we would use them I shouldn't even say primarily to do like dermal things, because they have some really good ER nurse practitioners. But anyway, you might see them go back ahead of you, and it's not because they're more important. They just literally have a life-threatening issue that we need to confirm is or isn't an issue. It's not about first come, first serve in the ER. So, and you never know what's going on in the back. But anyway, so we took this guy into bed 20 and did an EKG. He was like, he had like the tombstone. He had the ST elevation that you see on a STEMI. So a heart attack. So we got him addressed, got cath lab involved, and lived to see another day. So people were like afraid to come to the ER. So I got time where and I kind of joke about this. Like, I licensed the company at triage from 1 to 4 in the morning when nobody was there. So I was sitting there and be like, well, I'm going to check and see, like, what does it take to license these cigars I've been rolling for my own consumption, right? So I'd get online and figure it out. Okay, well, it's a form. I got to fill that. So I'd fill that form out and submit it. And then there'd be another form. And I'm like, well, what do you mean by this paperwork? And so I'd send them an email. Well, the next night I would come back in and check my email and I'd have a response. And so okay. So I'd submit that one. So I licensed my company at the triage desk. And
you were productive with your time.
Yeah. Productive. Dude, I find I have to do, it's like Travis Kelce, 2 things at once. You know, I have to do 2 things at once these days to get anything done. But so that's how the company came up. And initially I was rolling them all myself. I was rolling all the cigars myself, and I couldn't keep up. So I've got these blends that I develop and I send them to my company, and it'll take a few prototypes to get it kind of nailed in and have the recipe kind of matching what I had intended for that particular blend. So, but yeah, man, I just I enjoy I say it's a good life accessory: cigars, coffee, bourbon. Yeah, right. All the things all
three. Yeah, that's all you need,
dude.
That's all you need to have a happy life.
Yep. And George said that recently. He said, I think it was like, that was listening to the last podcast. He said cigars, bourbon, and barbecue.
It's a good combo. That's what I need to start doing here, serving barbecue.
Yeah.
So tell us about I know we were talking about beforehand, like the coffee and the cigars, like sharing and like what did you wanted to do with all this?
Okay. It's So so we just started this company, Global Citizen Coffee Roasters, and thought maybe like a way to just do a little giveaway, right? So I've got these bags here. This one is for you, and then I've got whole bean here. This is our Costa Rican single origin blend. That's whole bean, and then we've got our Hearth blend, which is kind of a primarily Colombian South American blend. We'll do a little giveaway. So I don't know what they should share this podcast. So share this podcast. Show. Yep. Share it, and on social medias on Facebook and Instagram, and tag at Global Citizen Coffee Roasters. Okay, and then if that you tag us, and then I'm gonna tally up all the people that tagged or that shared and tagged, and then we'll give away. We'll do a giveaway. So
heck yeah,
just put all the names in a randomizer, and then there is a thing that I did this one time around Christmas, and it turns out like if you share, you have to make it visible that you're sharing it, because I had maybe 30 shares, but I could only see 11 of the people. So I don't know how that looks. I'm not probably
figure it out.
Yeah. But if they can figure it out, then they can throw it in there. So
all right. So wrapping it up here, you're right. We probably have to do another one here.
Talk about world travels and mental.
So that was my next question. So I have two more questions, and that's one of them. So you have been to 46 countries?
46 countries.
All right. Yep. So, and you try to do something every year.
I want to,
right?
Not necessarily on my birthday, but I had this when I went to Egypt on my 30th birthday, floating down the Nile on a felucca, smoking my favorite cigar on my 30th birthday. It was the La Gloria Cubana Series R number 6 at the time. So I try and do something different. When I turned 30, I was like, man, if I can, and at that time I'd been to 38 countries or 37. And I was like, if I can just do one trip each year, and stay the number of countries outside the US, keep that number more than my age, that'd be kind of a fun thing, right? Well, I lost it at 37 because from the trip to Egypt, in Jordan, and then Nicaragua the following year, I didn't go anywhere forever. And then last year, for my 40th birthday, my CSF league too. But for my 40th birthday, we went to UK. Well, we also we'd never been on a cruise. That's not our family vacation is not a cruise. And we went on a cruise to the Bahamas. Felt like I was in prison the whole time on that cruise ship.
It's not that I hate cruise ships, but I feel the same way. I want to be out and about. I don't want to be stuck in a ship.
Hiking in the mountains. And and that was this year's vacation. We went to Banff and Glacier. But so we went to, Katie and I went to, and I had not intentionally not gone to the UK when I was younger, because I said someday I'll be able to do the UK when I have, I was so poor when I was growing up, and when Katie and I first got married, we had zero money, but we still it's well, how do you afford those trips? Well, what is everyone else? We didn't have cable. We didn't go out to eat a lot. My wife is such a good chef too. So it's cooking was something I always ate well. But we just saved our money, and we were intentional about what we put our money towards. So that's how we did it. But anyway, when I'm older, I'll be able to have these trips where I can not only pay for the plane ticket, but also pay for a car rental to do it right, or pay for hostels,
Yep.
And that was last year. So we went, we also have some friends that are in missionaries in Kyrgyzstan. So we went, while we were half or a quarter way around the world, we went another quarter of the way of the world to visit them for the weekend. So we went to Kyrgyzstan for the weekend, and then we came back and did UK for 3 weeks and got to see all the cool stuff up there.
So what's been your favorite place, and where do you want to go next?
Okay. So I have favorites for different reasons. Cuba was really cool. Just for...
That's on my bucket list.
Yeah. And, I found out that there's like who you're with or who you go with is definitely like why you and why you're doing there is definitely like one of the reasons why you would love or hate a place, right? So if I'm there, like I wasn't in the military, but if I was like someplace like on a military mission, it probably wouldn't be as nice as if I was there walking around the back streets of Sevilla, getting lost, sipping on wine, and enjoying the architecture. Right?
I've done that in Spain. So
Dude,
hey,
I love Sevilla. It was one of my favorite cities in the world until I went to Venice. But again, who you're there with? Mm-hmm. My buddy Matt Lilly and I, we had. I could talk these stories forever, man. But we basically in another trip that we had done, we played hacky sack all across Portugal and Spain, and then we made this joke: we're gonna hack across the world, And then like 3 years later, we meet up in Venice, and the first thing we do, we bust out the hacky sack and start playing. But you get lost on those back streets of Venice and find that little cafe that sells carbonara and has these wines that you've never heard of, but they're from the regions that you enjoy.
Yeah.
And the five of you buy 10 bottles of wine, and it's great, man. Mm-hmm. Being able to experience like other culture on the local level is amazing. Yeah, not just the commercial.
My wife, her and her family are from Spain, so we went over there. And
oh man,
so we went to all the local spots.
That's
like
awesome.
We didn't go to any tourist spots. That was like the cool thing. And like that's all we did. Like it was like coffee and wine.
Yeah,
it was like,
that's awesome.
Did coffee in the morning, and wine the rest of the day, and then you ate good food and you sat, chilled with family,
siesta.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, but I'd say Peru. That's where I proposed to my wife at Machu Picchu. She thought we were dropping my parents off at the airport. That's a whole nother story. But I had our bags packed with our things, and she shows up that day like almost in tears. She's like, "Devin, none of my clothes are there." She's like, "I almost called and said I wasn't going to take your parents to the airport with you." And I said, "Oh, the only logical explanation is that your sister took them all." Well, they were all packed in her bags that, she thought my mom had. So, but we got there got up to the gate, and she still didn't know that we were going. She's like, "I got to work." I said, "I told your boss you wouldn't be in this week, but to keep you on the schedule." I don't know if I've told you the story or not before, but yeah. And then she said, "Well, is that where my clothes are?" I was like, "Yeah, that's where your clothes are." She's like, "Oh my gosh." So I took her to Peru, Machu Picchu. She said yes.
I would hope so.
But have I ever told you the story about like what happened that night? So do we have time?
Sure.
Okay. All right. So, okay. This is like one of the craziest stories. And for years, I thought it was food poisoning, and maybe it was, I don't know, but or altitude sickness, sun exposure. I don't know, a number of things. So she says, yes. I'm a teacher at the time, right? I got zero money. I'm working 2 jobs, I had a house and then a rental property. I worked 2 jobs to like put all these pieces together. I was a server and I was a teacher. So we go to Peru, Machu Picchu. Proposed. I told the guide in Spanish. I said, "Hey, I've got a wedding ring or an engagement ring in my pocket. Take me to that like iconic shot, And okay, so he takes us there. She says yes. That night, I spent I had no money, but I spent like $400. In that time, that was a lot of money on my teacher's salary for this little bungalow. It was like a stone hut. And it's just got a fireplace. It was just going to be a romantic event, And so I spent all this money, and we go at, it's on this like compound, and we eat at this restaurant. Alpaca is what I had. She had something else I can't recall, but then we go back to the hotel and or not the hotel, the bungalow, and I start to feel like really just nauseous, and then I end up like diarrhea and vomiting every 15 minutes. I'm like the whole night, right? So I spent all this money for this romantic night, and it was kind of a flop. But I'm having these crazy dreams, the most lucid, like weird dreams ever.
You got some ayahuasca.
I think I did. I think somebody missed, and for years I said I just got food poisoning. But So in one of my dreams, right? So I'm sick. In one of my dreams, the Incan people, I'm at Machu Picchu in my dream, and the Incans take me into their hut, into the hut of their village shaman, and he does a mystical healing over me, and then I leave and I'm healed. So I go through the rest of the night with these weird dreams. That's the most prominent memory of my dreams, and I tell Katie, I was like, "This is
your third eye,
dude." I wonder if somebody misunderstood like why I was there. Like maybe this compound was not like just the casual compound.
They're like, we're a ayahuasca.
Yeah, compound. Yes, and but why did Katie not have a similar experience. You know, if like
She's
they
just
misunderstood.
I'll have a cheeseburger.
So we end up going back to Cusco the next day, and like we're walking down the main pathway and the main street, and we're trying to find a restaurant to go for our last meal. And there's this kid. He's like, eat at our restaurant. And every other country I've been in, you tell a kid to go away or no, and they leave. But this kid would not let us, like, he would not leave it alone. And I'm like, screw it. I was like, hey, let's go right here. So we turned. There was menu stand, and we went up the stairs, and we get to the top of the stairs, and there's didgeridoos everywhere. I was like, whoa. I was like, what? Like didgeridoos with like two like one bell and two trunks and one cone.
Those are the things like
yeah. I have a collection of didgeridoos. Mm-hmm. Okay, and so from around the world and places I've been. So I was like, this is amazing. I was like, I have a collection of. What's the deal with all these? And he's like, oh, Sonny is he's our his band comes and plays on Tuesdays, and these are the instruments he uses for part of their set. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. I have a collection of didgeridoos. And he was like, well, they're all for sale. I was like, what? I was like, well, will you take traveler's checks? Remember those? And so the guy in Spanish, he's like, yeah, I'll go call him. So he calls Sonny, and he comes back. He's like, you're in luck. Sonny's in town. He's a shaman, and he's in town doing mystical healings.
Dude, you had a dream about it.
I know. I was like, you've got to be kidding me, dude. I was like, I had to dream about this guy last night, and I can't connect that it was him in my dream. But so anyway, Sonny comes and he sells me this didgeridoo, and he wasn't at all impressed that I had a dream about him the night before. He's like, that's how the world works, you know, just like not impressed as in like whatever. It was like
he's like, yeah,
he was not
normal.
surprised.
Yeah.
Yes, he was not surprised. He was like, of course you had a dream about me because the world knew that we were going to meet today, you know. And it was just. Really kind of a unique story, but I for years thought I would like just got food poisoning or altitude sickness, but then I come to find out that these like people pay good money to go
high on DMT or
ayahuasca. Yeah, and I'm like, I wonder if somebody misunderstood what I was there for. But so anyway, it's kind of funny. I heard about that. I read about that in my own mental health journey. You know, just when I was kind of looking for. When I went up to the mental health unit to work, I made this like slogan. I say, come for the patients, stay for yourself.
Yeah.
But when I was researching like what it would look like to be a mental health nurse and what tools I needed, you know, just so I could really like connect with my patients instead of just like kind of moving them through like cattle in the ER. That's one of the things that I looked into was like different treatments and ketamine therapy and all that stuff. But yeah. So anyway, so favorite place, Peru. The sunsets in Cambodia were amazing. The pyramids of Giza, the temples in Petra, Jordan, Machu Picchu, of course, Cuba. It was really cool seeing like communism gone bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I should rephrase that. It was really cool to see like pristine Capitolio with like perfect, like the grass is all the same height and the stone's all whitewashed and it's just pristine. And then right across the street, this building that was built when Christopher Columbus was around, and the patio's falling off and they've got wood bracing it up. And then you look up on the patio from the third floor of the fourth floor. And you look into the room and you see that you see the sky inside and you're like, oh, the ceiling's falling in. And these are buildings that like colonial structures that like, they just don't have the resources to keep it up, you know? So
last question, what's next for Badass? Like, what do you want to do? Like, I know you have projects all the time with Badass and with the cigars and coffee and stuff, but like, I know the 3-peat's coming out soon, but like, what's in the works for this year?
So I at the end of the Renaissance Festival, I depleted my stock. Like I don't know if you felt it here, but I had to commission 17,000 cigars. I've got about 12 of them that and my humidor is just. I've got a walk-in humidor. It's like exploding. I'm renovating the TTB regulated facility, my factory.
Yep.
To say that, but it's like literally regulated by the TTB. I'm going to renovate it. We're going to gut the whole thing, insulate it with the foam stuff, solar panels, so we can run an HVAC system there year round. And I don't have to worry about like, the little heater on the wall. Is that going to be enough to keep the area appropriate? So building a new humidor that is modifiable to make bigger and bigger and bigger. Growth is keeping up with growth really is, I know it's such a cliched thing, but it's where I'm at. But still making sure I stay connected to my original mission, which is to help other people in need and to bring other people up with if we're smoking cigars, we've got extra cash. Mm-hmm. So if you smoke a badass, you can kind of you can feel comfortable that like a significant portion of what I take in goes back out to other areas.
Yeah.
And writing those checks hurt this year, man. It was, I still have one more to write. But I really want to, so the orphanage, the girls' orphanage in Dominican Republic, they actually shut down the orphanage and they just have a feeding program. So I really want to make sure that what is going on there is really what I want to focus on and support, because, feeding and education is great. We do that in another way, but maybe there's another orphanage that's struggling that could use a little bump, and maybe I'll find that. But so I need to write that check and really decide quickly. I've been praying about it. Like, is this something I need to continue on, or do I need to change gears? And like Free International, there's a guy here who isn't on the board. Free is fine. It stands for 4 things, but he's telling me all about it. And they basically,
like a guy here.
Yeah. There's a guy here that I met, and we were talking about it one night. I've got emails, and we've contacted Facebook, and I'm considering donating to that as well. They have women who have been sex trafficked.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
One of my members. Yeah.
And they've got like a truck in Vegas, and like matter of fact, like not SWAT teams, but like the police will use them and their resources to like set up these things, like you're a prostitute.
HSI a lot, like Homeland Security.
Yeah. It's like you have 2 options. You can go and get a 15-minute counseling session in this truck, or you can be arrested or something. And then you go in the truck, and it's like they give you these resources. Hey, you don't have to live like a prostitute. We can help you. We can pull you out of this and get. This is what I picked up on it. I shouldn't.
I would definitely take option 1.
Yeah,
you could go here, or you can go to jail.
Yeah, and then you don't have to. You go in there for your time, and then you can leave, and you don't have to do anything with them. But it seemed like pretty legit. So, and here's the deal, man. God's not afraid. Like, I'm not worried that like, maybe I don't have enough people to give my money to. God's gonna drop it in my lap when it's right, when I know what it needs to be, and all these things.
I need God to drop some money in my lap right now.
So. Well, I didn't mean like God to drop the money. I meant like the programs that we give to. Yeah. So I think we could all use a little more green, but
just give me.
But it kind of goes back to like, what's your legacy? Like and this is like something that I've been working on myself over the past decade. Like, what's your legacy when you die? What are you going to be remembered as?
Yeah,
And I want to, if I can leave an eternal, lasting piece for somebody, that's great. But primarily, like, take care of my wife and kids and make sure they know who I am and they feel loved and they have everything from me they need.
I know this sounds corny, but it's like, because I've watched all these kids movies all the time, but like the movie Coco, right?
Yeah.
You know how they're like, hey, like they have that picture up in Generations Remember. I'm like, I want to be that person. Like, where I'm not just remembered from like the next generation, but like a couple on.
And when you think about it, dude, it can be like a big trip. Like, your great grandparents, do you even know their names? Yeah. I don't.
I do.
I know their last names.
Yeah.
I don't think I don't think I do, man. Mm-hmm. And that's like, it's going to be me someday. So I could live for myself and everything I do, but what I need to know that I've done is taking care of my wife and kids,
Good.
So,
well, my guy, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Like, man. I said, we definitely have to have episode 2 because there's a lot of stuff we didn't even even hit on. This is a phenomenal cigar. I can't wait to get these in.
Awesome,
really
man.
good.
I guess the official release date is I'm going to deliver them on. So I wanted to have them out. Okay, so again, I hope the Chiefs can make it to the Super Bowl. I think they will.
I hope so too,
dude. Every game has been pretty intense, and there's a girl at work that sometimes if we have time we'll watch with the patients, and she's like, they're not going to do it this time. I was like, no. I was like, Jackie, they're going to win. And it was the field goal one where where they blocked the field goal. I was like, Jackie, I don't know how they're going to do it, but they're going to do it. Like, just wait. And she's like, Devin, there's like 2 seconds left. I was like, I don't care, Jackie. It's going to happen. They're going to win. And I kept the faith, and sure enough, they won that one.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to do it. But if they don't, I can rebrand.
We'll still have them. Yeah.
Yeah. But somebody needs to get a hold of me, and I'll give the Chiefs as many as they need. For free. And then, but what if the Super Bowl is the 9th? I was going to release them on the 26th or the 27th, really. But since you're closing on Monday, I'll make sure you use the 26th to release. That's the day I'm going to deliver them in Kansas City.
Well, I'll be here on that Monday anyway. If I could.
Okay, on the 27th.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right, man.
Cool. Well, appreciate you, man. Like I said, it's always a pleasure.
Yeah.
Always good talking to you, even if it's not on the microphone.
Yeah. I like our chats, man.
Well,
it's,
go ahead.
Oh, I just say, my dad being sick, it's been kind of a how to put this. I want to spend every second with my parents as I can because they may not be listening. And so I've been, instead of like coming down here on my days off, I would been going to Springfield, but.
Ain't no problem with that. Yeah. I ain't going to fault you for that. That's what you should be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. Like I said, like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Make sure you follow us and all the social media platforms. Make sure you go out and get some Global Citizen coffee. Make sure you share this podcast so you can get into the contest to get a free bag. And I'm sure we'll probably have some here so you guys could buy some too. And make sure you guys check out Badass Cigars if you haven't had one. They're great cigars. You can find them here and other cigar retail locations around the city. So check them out. Come down here. Check us out. Come down here. Check Devin out whenever he's here. Always support local. He's a local guy. All good, all good. And we will catch you next time. Out. Goodbye, everybody.